Hello friends, I Shubham Jain from Team Corporate Law Journal welcome you all at the CLJ, a drive for sustainable corporate world. The vision of this initiative is to explore corporate literacy and to impart legal education in simple and lucid manner. Friends, as you all know, this channel is created for simple analysis of the critical information under corporate and commercial laws. So before watching this video, I request you all, please press the bell icon, subscribe this channel for our upcoming brainstorming videos with eminent personalities from corporate world. In earlier video, we discussed the major changes under IBC law by the Abir Lal De, who is a partner with banking finance team of LNL Partners Mumbai. So friends, in this video, we are going to discuss the disciplinary committee order of the Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India in the matter of Mr. Mohanlal Jain, who is an insolvency professional registered with Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India and also a member of ICSI Institute of Insolvency Professional. Mr. Mohanlal Jain is a resolution professional of Mark Softtech Private Limited. So before delving into the factual metrics of this case and the background of this case, it is very pertinent for us to understand three major sections under the IBC 2016, which will help us to understand the power of the IBBI to start the disciplinary action against the insolvency professional if there is any contravention of Insolvency Bankruptcy Code 2016 or regulation thereunder. Section 218 discusses about the investigation authority which can be set up by the Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India if there is any contravention or if there is any reasonable ground to believe that there is a contravention by the insolvency professional. Section 219 of the IBC 2016 talks about the show cause notice that on the basis of the investigation report, the Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India can pass the show cause notice or can serve the show cause notice to the insolvency professional. And section 220 of the Code 2016 talks about the setting up of the disciplinary committee. Before coming to the facts or background of this case, I would like to inform you all in this case a monetary penalty of approximately rupees 32 lakh was imposed over insolvency professional by the Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India. Now, coming to the background of this case, in this case on August 6, 2018, Investigation Authority was set up under the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code 2016. And on the basis of the report of the Investigation Authority, a show cause notice was served to the insolvency professional on January 14, 2020. On the basis of the show cause notice, a reply was filed by the insolvency professional on January 31st, 2020. And in March 16, 2020, everything is referred to the disciplinary committee set up under the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code 2016. Also, the personal hearing opportunity was given to the Mr. Mohanlal Jain. Coming to the factual metrics of this case, Mark Softtech Private Limited was under corporate insolvency resolution process and Mr. Mohanlal Jain was acting as a resolution professional for the Mark Softtech Private Limited, which is a corporate debtor. So in this case, SDFC, who is one of the financial creditor, gave a loan of 75 crore to the corporate debtor. And also the facility agreement was signed between the party and terms and condition of this agreement clearly mentioned like there will be pledge over rental income of the corporate debtor and the escrow account will be opened with the SDFC bank for the repayment of the loan amount. Now in this case, once the CIRP is started and the moratorium was imposed under the section 14 of the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code 2016, in the third COC meeting, resolution professionals sought approval from the members of the COC regarding continuous payment of the EMI of the SDFC. The committee approved the same, and there was a point to be noted here is that there was a 100% approval of the COC regarding the payment. And on that basis, the repayment of the EMI was continuously going on till the 10th COC meeting. in the 10th COC meeting, it was observed by the revised claim list that the amount which is stood against the SDFC was 22 crore, now reduced to 1 crore, approximately 1 crore. So, in the moratorium period, continuous payment of EMI was provided to the SDFC. Further, in the 10th COC meeting, it was decided by the members of the creditors committee that the security deposit stood with the SDFC bank can be adjusted for the repayment of the loan, and the remaining amount can be claimed from the corporate debtors account. Now, coming to the main question of law which arose in this case is that whether the payment of EMI to a financial creditor made during the period of moratorium in CIRP is a violation of section 14(1)(b) of the code or not. So, it is important for us to understand what is the section 14(1)(b). So, section 14 talks about the moratorium, and section 14(1)(b) talks about the moratorium on transferring, encumbrances, alienating or disposing of by the corporate debtor any of its assets or any legal rights or beneficial interest therein. In this case, we can understand from the 3rd COC meeting to the 10th COC meeting, there is a continuous payment of EMI by the corporate debtor to its financial creditor, even though moratorium was imposed because the CIRP was already started. So, it is a clear case of the contravention of the section 14(1)(b) of the code. Now, we have to understand what is the financial assets and assets, because if we will able to prove like this EMI amount or security deposit is falling under the term assets or financial assets, then we can clearly understand that this is a clear-cut case of the violation of the section 14 and also the insolvency professional regulation by the insolvency professional. Now, it is important for us to understand the term assets and the financial assets. For this, we are going to refer Accounting Standard 38 for the term assets and Accounting Standard 32 for the term financial assets. So, as per the Accounting Standard 38, the term assets means assets is a resource controlled by an entity as a result of past events from which future economic benefits are expected to flow to the entity. In our case, the amount credited to the escrow account will be fall under the term AS 38 of assets. Now, coming to the term security deposit. Security deposit is a refundable security deposit given by an entity in their contractual rights to receive cash from the holder of the security deposit. So, there is a definition of the financial assets given under the Accounting Standard 32. It defines a financial assets is any asset that is a cash, an equity instrument of another entity, a contractual right to receive cash or another financial assets from another entity. So, in our case, a contractual right which helps to receive the cash. So, therefore, the security deposit will fall under the term financial assets. So, friends, it is now clear to us that the EMI amount which is paid to the financial creditor, that is the SDFC, during the moratorium period, and the security deposit which is adjusted towards their debts will also consider as assets under the term, will consider as asset under this term. So, in this case, there is a clear-cut violation of the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code 2016 and the Insolvency Professional Regulation 2017 by the insolvency professional. And we have to appreciate, or we have to understand the role of the insolvency professional, because insolvency professional are the backbone of the IBC vision and mission. The purpose of this code is to revive the corporate debtor, and if in this sense, if you are continuously weakens the asset side of the corporate debtor, then it would become really difficult for the corporate debtor to revive. So friends, as we analyze in this case how the insolvency professional play a vital role in the insolvency and bankruptcy ecosystem, even though in this case the penalty imposed was just 25% of the fees charged by the insolvency professional. But the point here is that the insolvency professional should understand their roles and responsibility, because they are the main pillars of this practice. And if they are not acting diligently, if they are not acting as per the vision and mission of this code 2016, then the whole purpose will be defeated. The whole purpose behind this IBC 2016 is to revive the corporate data from the bad situation to a good situation. So friends, we hope you like our video, and please be tuned with us. We are coming with very good videos in our upcoming sessions. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.